Hi, everyone. We will wait just for 2 minutes before we start. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the IYCF-E IFE Core Group satellite event. This event is hosted by the IFE Core Group. And of course, thanks to the Global Nutrition Cluster for the opportunity to contribute to the GNC satellite events. My name is Linda Shaker Berbari, and I'm the IFE Core Group facilitator. I'm a consultant with ENN. So today's event is only 50 minutes. We look forward to a participatory and engaging 50 minutes. So I would like to please ask you to keep your laptops or mobiles or PCs ready to engage with us. We have a few links to share with you. Also, if you would like to introduce yourselves in the chat box. This event will be facilitated by the members of the IFE Core Group Steering Committee, whom I will let introduce themselves. Deborah?
Yeah, greetings everyone. My name is Deborah Joy Wilson, Maternal Infant Young Child Nutrition Specialist, WFP Headquarters. Also Inclusive Nutrition Operations Team Lead, so under the emergency or the operations section. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Fatmata?
Hi everyone, good morning and good afternoon. I am Fatmata Sise, Nutrition Specialist UNICEF.
Thank you, Fatmata. Sarah?
Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Sarah O'Flynn. I am the Director for Emergency Nutrition at Save the Children US.
Thank you. And Claudine?
Hello, everyone. My name's Carleen Gribble. I'm an Adjunct Associate Professor in the School of Nursing and Midwifery at Western Sydney University.
Thanks so much, Carleen. And without further ado, we will start with the first section of this event, and I'll hand over to Deborah to tell us a bit more about the IFE Core Group. Deborah, over to you.
Many thanks. Could we have the next slide, please? Great. So yeah, just briefly about the background of the IFE Core Group. They were established in 1995, and the reason was that were concerns of gaps related to infant feeding during emergencies and the increased risk of illness and death. So the IFE Core Group is made up of a collaboration of global agencies as well as individuals who are committed to the protection, promotion and support of infant young child feeding in emergency context. So some of their roles are strengthening the learning, the guidance and policies, planning and capacity of IYCF-E. So within the IFE Core Group, the members consist of 26 organisations and 10 individuals or independents. They're all passionate and active in supporting the mandate and activities of the IFE Core Group and linking the activities to their respective organisations as well as their partners and beyond. They meet monthly as well as meetings related to specific functions within the membership. There is a steering committee which consists of members from WFP, UNICEF, Save the Children, and an independent, and coordinated by the ENN. The steering committee rotates every 2 years, and within that there are standing organisations in the steering committee, which are the ENN and UNICEF. Other committee members are rotated. So slide number 2, please. I'm sorry, these organisations were represented on that previous slide there, with some of the members. On the next slide, please, sorry. So the IFE Core Group works collaboratively with other networks and agencies. It's part of the GNC Technical Alliance, representing the thematic working group on infant young child feeding and emergencies, and collaborates with other agencies, for example, DBC, Netcode, among others. So yes, very participatory and is often called in by other organisations to support the work of their mandates. So next slide, please. So what does the IFE Core Group do? Develops and disseminates guidance documents and resource materials, documents lessons learned, challenges, enablers and gaps in programming implementation, and develops and implements advocacy and communication strategies. And to facilitate these activities, IFE Core Group members participate in subgroups. Examples are the webinar committee, communications and advocacy committee, and these actions will be reflected later on in the presentation. Many thanks.
Thank you, Deborah. I'll hand over
now I'll introduce Fatmata to make the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Deborah, for that overview. Colleagues, I would like to concentrate my presentation today to just remind ourselves about why it's important to support IYCF-E. I know many of us work in the IYCF-E space, and we have done this for so long, but it's always important and helpful to remind ourselves about the value of supporting IYCF-E. We know that in emergencies, infants and young children are extremely vulnerable to malnutrition, illness, and death. And we also know that child deaths can be up to 70 times higher than the average. We do know that the lack of support of breastfeeding and the inappropriate distribution of BMS are challenges that result in increased infant morbidity and mortality. And the risks of feeding infants something other than breast milk, particularly at the first 6 months, are increased because of many factors. We already know this include unclean water, crowded, unhygienic living conditions, inconsistent supplies in the market. This we know can significantly endanger infants. Hello, someone else is talking. Could you please mute your mics if you're not speaking? Thank you. This can significantly endanger infants' health and lead to illness, malnutrition, and mortality. So therefore, it is crucial to ensure that infants are exclusively breastfed for the first 6 months of life, and this continued up to 2 years and more with age-appropriate and safe complementary feeding. So I would just like to draw your attention to the photos on the slide. Some of you may remember this picture from Kosovo of a mother and a baby. And if you can see the other picture, here is the baby, the girl, well, the adults later in 22 years. So these two pictures are a clear reminder of why it's important to support IYCF-E and why it's such a life-saving intervention. Next slide, please. So as we all know and have used the operational guidance on infant and young child feeding in emergencies, this is our main reference material. And this guidance really concerns about the protection, promotion, and support of safe and appropriate feeding for infants and young children in all types of emergencies to safeguard their health, their growth, and survival. It also includes supporting the nutritional needs of infants and young children from birth up to the age of 2. And it also concerns both the breastfed and the non-breastfed child and the well-being of mothers. So ideally, IYCF-E protects breastfeeding alongside safe, diverse, and locally available complementary foods. It's also a cross-cutting field that requires coordination and multiple expertise. That's why we all have you here today to continue to support and promote emergency preparedness and response for IYCF-E. Next slide, please. So this slide just shows some examples of what we mean by protecting, promoting, and supporting IYCF-E based on the operational guidance. So if we look at protection, I must emphasize here that the code remains relevant in emergencies. So it is important to upload the provisions of the code, and there is also need to monitor and report code violations. It's important to protect infant and young children from BMS promotion and marketing in the whole in emergencies. Then for support, the regular interventions, of course, will always continue, but to ensure that we include skilled breastfeeding counseling early on, to ensure exclusive and continued breastfeeding as well as complementary feeding. But in emergencies, it is particularly important to ensure case management of mothers as well as their children who need additional support. This includes relactation, provision of BMS, while minimizing the risks of artificial feeding. And it is also important to continue to support newborn child health interventions. This includes the skin-to-skin contact, the kangaroo mother care, and the Ruminid, to name it a few. Then the key aspect of promotion is mass communication at national and at sub-national level. This needs to be implemented and monitored because we need to develop and disseminate key messages on IYCF-E and the risks of inappropriate IYCF within the context of the emergency, because the main aim is to reach the greatest number of people as well as save lives. So to wrap it up, IYCF-E really matters because it saves the lives of infants and young children who are extremely vulnerable to mortality, illness, and malnutrition during emergencies. Over to you, Linda, for the next slides. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Fatmata, for this reminder. I'll hand over to Sarah for the first activity.
Yes, great. Thanks, everybody. So I get the fun part of engaging with all of you in an activity. If you wouldn't mind opening up menti.com. And once you open it, if we can just go back one slide so everybody, oh, it's in the chat as well. In the chat, you'll see the number to insert on the menti.com website. If you could all put that in, we'll create a word cloud to have a sense of what some of the key priority challenges are that you've encountered in IYCF-E. Our hope is to have a bit of interaction and hear from you all. We have nearly 100 people on the call, so keen to hear what your thoughts are on these key priority challenges. We'll leave this open for just a moment or two and then have a chance to look at everybody's responses. Fantastic. We're getting a lot of good answers here that I can see. Okay, so if I can just start looking at some that are coming in. We have a big, large number of folks who are calling out capacity to implement and advocate for infant young child feeding in emergencies. Complementary feeding in particular as a area of IYCF is being raised as well. That's been a priority that the IFE Core Group is certainly working on. Funding to implement these activities and to fund advocacy as well. Prioritization, it'd be interesting to have a conversation around what aspects of prioritization. The code violation was, I think, one of the first things that someone put in, and a critical area that brings together so much of what we do, and that I'm sure that we can really be focusing in on across our partnerships. There's a lot of other aspects that have been raised. They're a little bit small and tight, so I might leave it for each of us to look at and to hear some of the other challenges being raised by our counterparts and colleagues, to know that any challenge that's being faced in the field, most likely there are others who are facing something similar, that we're in this together as a collective, and hope that as an IFE Core Group, we can help to answer some of these challenges and work together to do that. Back over to you, Linda.
Thanks so much, Sarah. This is really interesting, and it really shows the importance of highlighting the challenges. So if I may, the next bit of this session, if you allow me to basically go through a little bit what the IFE Core Group strategy consists of, to tell you a little bit about the IFE Core Group direction for the coming few years, and really share this with you because this is something that we all share. You know, if we think about the purpose of IYCF-E, and the ultimate aim is really to contribute to child survival, to growth and development. And I'm sure we all share this, especially, of course, in emergency situations. So with the next few slides, I will go over some of the activities that the IFE Core Group is engaged in. And specifically in terms of the strategy, of course, it's there to set a direction for the IFE Core Group for the next 3 to 5 years. And as I mentioned, it is really there to strengthen learning, guidance, policies, planning, capacity in IYCF-E. And that is in order to, or via ensuring appropriate and quality IYCF-E support services, programs, and policies. You can access the IFE Core Group strategy by going to the IFE Core Group website, and you can access it with a theory of change. But what I wanted to concentrate on is really what are some of the main pillars of the strategy, what are some of the outputs, the main outputs that the IFE Core Group will be focusing on in the coming period. Number one is gaps and challenges, and identifying gaps, challenges, and even enablers related to IYCF-E, and bringing those to the core group in order to have the appropriate action and support. The second pillar is really related to developing resource material and providing support, technical support on IYCF-E. And the third is about really advocating for IYCF-E and communication related to IYCF-E. And then you can see here on the right-hand side is really about the community of practice. So the members that you have seen at the beginning, to ensure that there is an active community of practice to further really reach the aim and improve IYCF-E. So if you allow me, in the next few slides, I will just zoom in on some of these pillars and give you some of the examples of the activities. So the first one is related to gaps and challenges and enablers. And so this consists of really understanding the challenges related to IYCF-E via tracking of issues and challenges. So just like we asked you just now, what are the challenges? So this is really important for us to be able to bring this to the community of practice and facilitate action and support. Also identify gaps in knowledge and practice, potential areas of research related to IYCF-E, and document the evidence and experiences. And this is where you all come in terms of sharing these experiences so that these can be documented and others can learn from it. So this is why we're here to listen, and we need to be always observing and understanding of these needs via different channels and tools. So I've got here a few of these channels such as NNet, and I'd encourage you to use that to share. Of course, the GNC Technical Alliance, the Global Nutrition Cluster sectors, and just by contacting the IFE Core Group or the GNCTA for us to understand more the gaps and challenges and be able to address them. The other pillar, which is more or less the bulk, and of course, when the IFE Core Group was created, the first output was this operational guidance. And so in this pillar on resource material and technical support, so there are two sub-pillars, and one is the development and dissemination of written guidance, and I've just put here some of these examples. And the second is to provide technical support, and that could be either via webinars or awareness sessions, but also, most importantly, really to work collaboratively with the Global Nutrition Cluster Technical Alliance to when there is some escalation of issues, also to provide peer support via NNet. So this is also, I will zoom in a little bit more on that and share with you some of the existing resources that are currently in place. And here I'd invite you to visit some of the existing platforms. And you have in the chat now the IFE Core Group website, of course, which if you go there, you can go to the IFE Core Group resources. So these are specific to the IFE Core Group that the IFE Core Group has contributed to, and of course, the operational guidance. And then if you go to IYCF-E resources, and if you open the operational guidance, you know that half of the operational guidance is actually a listing of useful resources. So you can find all these on the page, but also recently, if you recall, the Save the Children had launched the IYCF-E Hub, which is really a repository of all these essential IYCF-E resources. And therefore, I'd invite you to look at those. And then, of course, there's a GNC website that also has these necessary resources. So in general, these resources are available. And for the IFE Core Group, it's important to facilitate the dissemination of these resources. But also, I wanted to update you on what is new and what is in the pipeline. So, of course, there's the operational guidance, but we do hear and understand that there is a need to not only disseminate the operational guidance, but also make it operationalize it further and simplify it further. And therefore, that is why there are a few tools that are in the pipeline and that have been developed, and also context specific, right? So I'd like to mention the FAQs related to COVID-19 vaccines and breastfeeding, which have been recently developed. I'd like also to mention that some of the recently launched resources that the IFE contributed to by Save the Children, such as the practical guidelines, also in the context of COVID. And hopefully very soon, there will be the launching of the operational guidance on breastfeeding counseling in emergencies, which complements the implementation guidance on breastfeeding counseling by WHO and UNICEF. So these are in the pipeline, and so watch the space for these. Other two tools that are in the pipeline are they're completed and hopefully will be launched very soon, are infographics that, as I mentioned, help to operationalize and simplify further the operational guidance. So one infographic is on early initiation of breastfeeding in emergencies, And the other is very relevant to this year's 40th anniversary of the code, preventing and managing inappropriate donations and abiding by the code in emergencies. So these are some of the new resources. And if we talk also about, so other than the resources I mentioned, support and technical support, and here I'd like to take this opportunity to invite you all to contribute to the sharing and learning cafes, or the webinars that were implemented last year and this year also have been launched. So if you would like to share your challenges or share your lessons learned or share your successes related to IYCF-E, please do share those by submitting a small, very small questionnaire that asks you about your experience. These forms are available in several languages, and hopefully we will be able to share these soon. The deadline is 25th of June, and therefore you're all encouraged to contribute to that, to please submit your experiences. So these are the first two pillars. Quickly, I will move to the last two, the advocacy and communication. So this is where members of the IFE Core Group and the IFE Core Group engages with global platforms and also represent the IFE Core Group in opportunities in order to communicate about IYCF-E and the IFE Core Group and advocate for IYCF-E. And a key activity that we're currently undergoing is developing a communication strategy for the IFE Core Group, and hopefully also an advocacy strategy. And that is the third pillar. And then the fourth pillar is really about the membership. It's about the individual members, the agencies who are committed and passionate to IYCF-E. And it's about, as I mentioned before, it's about how this network is further activated and further enhanced in order to contribute and reach the objectives and the aims of the IFE Core Group. And by that, I think I will stop here and give the opportunity for Carleen to engage you another time with a rather, hopefully not very complicated task. Carleen.
Thanks so much, Linda. So now we're wanting to know how you think that the IFE Core Group can help to address some of the challenges that you raised in our Menti activity. So if you go to the link there in the chat, it will take you through to this form where you can put down your name. You don't have to, but it's helpful if you do, where you come from, who you work with, but most importantly, if you can give us some ideas of the ways in which the IFE Core Group can address your needs and challenges, what can we do to help you? That's what we really want to hear about. So if you can go to the link in the chat, we'll take you through there, and you can put through some of your ideas about how the IFE Core Group could help.
Thanks, Carleen. And of course, if there are any questions that anyone would like to ask, we can also have this space where are contributing. Can I just ask everyone to mute themselves, just because sometimes we are hearing others speak?
So you can see we've got different people putting in the things that they want addressed. We've got Bindi Borg writing about wet nursing, wanting some more ways of how to operationalise that. We've got somebody from UNICEF Bangladesh looking for advocacy to operationalise the operational guidance. Can see there's actually a great diversity there, which I think is, it's one of the challenges of IYCF-E, that it's quite a broad thing. It's not very targeted, and I guess it means for lots of different sorts of challenges that need different solutions. We have Mayor Ververs from Johns Hopkins and CDC talking about addressing the code. Oh, and links with professional medical associations. I think that's a problem that we have all over the world. And Aranini, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, from Athens, asking about, how can we get potential funding sources together for IYCF-E activities. And that was one of the things that came through very strongly in the when we first asked you what challenges were. Funding was one of the front ones up there in terms of challenges that people are having. So I think there are many who see that as being an issue that needs addressing. There's been lots of problems there raised. Somebody has added in, they haven't put their name there, understand the enablers. And I agree, I think that's a really important thing. If we know what actually helps to create good IYCF-E responses, that's a very helpful thing in terms of making it happen. So not just the problems, but the good things.
There's one on language and media, Carleen, also, that is worth mentioning. Also, Bindi.
Ah, yes. That's one of my favorite things. to how to actually talk about this and make sure that people understand the risks where infants aren't being breastfed or they're not being exclusively breastfed. Instead of talking about the benefits of breastfeeding, talk about what happens when infants aren't exclusively breastfed and what happens if they are fed BMS. And a comment there on conflict of interest and how to address it and avoid in emergencies. And it was listening to Fatmata talk before about the importance of the WHO International Code and how it's important that it be applied in emergencies. And sometimes I think we need to talk about how it's even more important in emergencies than in non-emergency situations. And translations.
Sorry, I can't fit the whole text on the page, so I just scroll up and down just in case you want to flag anything, let me know.
On developing local expertise, somebody has said that they wish that the major relief agencies would fund local experts. So developing local capacity. And learning from other countries' experiences is another challenge that somebody thinks the IFE Core Group can help with. And I guess, I suppose that's one of the purposes of the learning cafes, really, isn't it? It's to share those experiences so that people can see what it's like for people in other places and perhaps learn from them.
Exactly. I was wondering if the comment about by Anne-Marie, operational guidance on how to implement it in advocacy, whether are these two separate points, or is it an operational guidance on advocacy? I don't know, Anne-Marie, if you want to elaborate a little bit. And I guess if anyone wants to verbally express their opinion, they're welcome to do that, right?
Sorry, Linda, what did you ask about? You kind of faded off, at least for me.
I was asking Anne-Marie, she had put comment here about the recommendation for operational guidance and how to implement it. And then she had a note on advocacy. So I think she's editing it here, how to conduct advocacy. Yeah. So these are really two separate points, right?
Linda, hi everyone. If you allow me, I can elaborate more on this issue.
Hi, is this Busaina?
Yes, hi, how are you?
I recognize your voice. I'm good. Please go ahead.
No, just to highlight something, because here in Jordan, it's an upper middle income country, okay? With all the challenges I keep saying of the low income countries. And this is not being recognized by the government. So even, when we are supporting the refugee, let's say population in the camps and in the host community, it's very difficult when we just, mention IYCF and emergency, as it's very sensitive. That's why, I agree with other colleagues who mentioned the issue with the advocacy. And although we are advocating with the government and also with the stakeholders and decision makers, but it's not going through very smoothly. They think that this is only for poor countries, although we have all the challenges related to IYCF, even among the Jordanian population. So if we can find a way, to advocate very smoothly with the government. Yes, I agree with some of the suggestions that we need to educate or raise the awareness of the decision makers. But at the end of the day, in a country like Jordan, and I think, in the region, we have many countries like us, we have government reshuffle sometimes twice a month. So the people are changing. And if you have a new cabinet on board, all the heads of directorates at the level of the decision making related to health and nutrition, they are changed. So we keep doing advocacy, but it's not going through. It's how to systematize it. And that's what we are looking at the moment. But it's not, becoming part of the system. So it's not to complicate things, but we need a solution. Now we are moving now to resilience, and we are in the process of having the new country program. I think, many other countries like, I think, Lebanon, Syria, and Turkey, they will go through the same exercise very soon. So we are facing the same challenges. I don't know if there are experiences in other countries in the region or other regions where we can learn from. Over. Thank you.
Carlene, you want to?
Oh, well, I'm just thinking, yeah, I mean, the sharing of experiences it is clearly so important, but also I think that that many people have got the same experiences where they work. This is what's been described is not something that's unique to the Middle East. I think there are many countries in the world where there are similar issues. And yeah, advocating with government is very difficult.
But I guess it's coming up as tools related to advocacy and to have something that can help at the national level with advocacy for IYCF-E, for prioritization, but also for implementation of the code, yes. Preparedness. I'm just conscious that there are also comments in the chat box, some sharing. I can read them for you, Carlene, or
yes, that would be great, Linda. Can you do that?
Yeah. So Asfiya is from Bangladesh saying recently industrial minister opened or inaugurated Nestle's industry, which is very unfortunate. So again, we're talking about the code. Judy is saying that we need to connect with emergency response gatekeepers in local areas as part of a disaster preparedness. Asfiya has shared the link about that, unfortunately. Zahra saying we need to brainwash policymakers, or we need a tool to do that. Bindi is saying the new cost of not breastfeeding tool is a great advocacy tool and very easy to use. Interesting.
I can see, Linda, there's also a comment there on supporting the non-breastfed infant.
Yep.
So, and we've known for quite some time that is a challenge. And we also have in the in the form, there's a comment there about supporting IYCF-E in contexts where access is restricted. And we do have some more content on that in the new operational guidance, which is actually not that new now. I think it's 2018. So, but yeah, there is some more content in there than what there was in the previous version. But yeah, I think we really, we do recognise that that's a gap that we need to do something to fill, because it is a challenge.
There's also the comment, I think, from Caroline about development partners and, non-emergency and emergency preparedness.
Linda, some of these comments they're so good. All of the comments are so good. I wonder if there's also an opportunity for us to share the avenues outside of this meeting to raise some of these needs. Would that be the help desk, or how can folks raise some of these challenges and requests and gaps to the IFE Core Group?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sarah, for this question. So at the moment within the IFE Core Group, we are developing a sort of process for identifying gaps and challenges, but we do already have channels of communication. So if it is a cluster, for example, it could be via the GNC communication. It could also be via NNet. So NNet platform is always monitored by the IFE Core Group so that we're able to capture the challenges. It could be as simple as sharing this via email to the IFE Core Group. It's the email is already on the website. This form, actually, we were just talking as we were preparing for this event. This form will remain, and we will encourage people to continue inputting onto this form. And there will be hopefully other opportunities to share experiences and to share these challenges, because this is the purpose, right? For us to be able to address these challenges. There's also, we're looking into, having some focused discussions on specific topics. So after this exercise, and also within the IFE Core Group, we have already identified a few focus discussions. So that could also be a venue for that. I'm conscious of time, Carly. Sorry.
Yes, thank you, Linda. I think these are really important challenges. I think it's important that we also have them feeding into the challenges and gap discussions and see what we can leverage on and take on for dedicated action and discussion.
Thank you so much. Carleen, I think we can move to the next small activity and also contribution from the audience. And this is sort of the other way around, how you can or you would like to contribute. Over to you, Carleen.
Yes. So you identified what the challenges were, and then asked us, and then we asked you, how we can help you. And now we're asking you how you can help us. So we have a link here again in the chat to a form which has a number of options that we'd like you to fill in and say how you think you might be able to help the IFE Core Group to do their work. And so we will have a record of this when you fill it out there, and maybe in contact with you if the thing that you've ticked has been something that we could contact you for. So if you'd like to go to that link in the chat box and then go through, there we go, beautiful, and put down, tick one of the boxes or add some things there at the end, because it's the IFE Core Group needs your help, needs as much help as we can get, because it's a big challenge that we have.
Thanks, Carleen. I can, so as people are filling in, we can see the results. So already there are 7 responses. but we'll give it a bit of time to see the results. And also you can fill it out later on as well. And I will just go back to this just in case there's anything that we have missed, because I can see also Yara's comment, which we didn't see before. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Artificial feeding support, very relevant at the moment, right? So I will go here again. So we have about 17 responses so far.
So it can be something as simple as telling your colleagues about the IFE Core Group. It doesn't have to be anything big. But certainly, if you are available to help with translations or something like that, that's something that we'd be very happy to hear. You know, if you're willing to volunteer to help with that, that would be fabulous. So there's lots of different ways to provide some assistance.
And maybe just to,
I was just going to talk about the translations as well, because we are a diverse group, and we will be able to tap into your expertise to help us translate some of the materials we already have and are planning to develop, including the infographics. Thank you.
Thank you. I was just going to flag that ENET is maybe we can share also the link for ENET now in the chat box if people are not familiar with it, because it is a platform where people can provide peer support, right, to others, and also to share experiences. Thank you, Laura. And of course, there's this one, share the experience in an IFE Core Group webinar. This could be locally, this could be regional, so it's really, it depends. Yeah, so we've got 30 responses. Shall we quickly just take a look? Okay, just, so I can see, sorry, maybe I should just, yeah, here we go. So, Connie, sorry, I can do this.
Oh, so sorry. So most people are, you know, more than 70% said that they could tell their colleagues about the IFE Core Group or share information about IYCF-E. That's fabulous. That's such a useful thing to be able to do. Contributing to the development of materials. So 17 people said that they could assist with that, and that's fabulous. As well as testing materials that have been produced, and that's such an important thing for people to be willing to help with that, because sometimes we get things wrong, and it's only when they're tested that we identify that there's a problem. 9 people saying that they would contribute to translation of materials. So again, really, really helpful. Share some of my IYCF-E something. Oh, experiences in a webinar. Fantastic. That's just so fabulous. You know, we can learn from one another. And support the IFE Core Group in raising awareness about IYCF-E in different platforms. Again, a really important thing. And support the documentation of IYCF-E experiences and lessons learned. So we don't all have to learn the hard way through experience. We can learn through the experiences of others, and provide peer support on IYCF-E. And nobody thought that they couldn't contribute, which is which is very good, although not everybody filled out the form, but there is still time to do that. And yes, there's some more comments down the back, down the bottom on translation. So yes, a very, very helpful thing.
So somebody's
Oh,
willing
fun
to
snacks and drinks.
drinks.
And
Rather
colleagues,
than
it's all-
funding, I think we'd like somebody to cook food for us. So just don't just pay for it. We want the home cooked stuff.
And colleagues, a reminder that the forms have been posted for the call for the webinars. So this is also an important way you can contribute and share your experiences. It's on the link. Thank you.
Yes, and sometimes you also might, request your organisations. You may be able to, receiving those forms to complete through your organisations as well. So also watch out for those.
Thank you. Thanks so much. I'm just conscious of time. I know that this is a 50 minutes session. Maybe we can now, I think it's the time to close the event. We just have one additional comment, maybe by Zahra. If we want to just quickly, she's saying that IYCF-E issues need to be sensitized with stakeholders, not just with the community. We need to be diplomatic in a humble way and not just being too much technical and follow advocacy rules. So I guess the message of simplifying advocacy tools is repeated again.
Hi, Linda. Yeah, just a quick comment. Yeah, that's really true because we already have the evidence. The evidence is there, but we just need to adapt the language to the person or the stakeholder or the government or the policymaker, and that is very different depending on each country. And I will be very realistic here. For instance, some of these governors or policy holders might be too, for instance, religious. So maybe we should find some language that can convince them into reach to their certain levels of understanding, so we can so we can convince them, because we know this is right and the evidence is here, and yes, there are people who are dying and poor, and there's inadequate nutrition. So everything is correlated and interrelated. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. Thank you so much. So I think we can stay for whoever would like to stay. However, just to follow the process, I think we have a final evaluation, very small poll. So I'll ask my colleagues from ENN to please launch this poll, and we can continue the discussion if people are happy to do that. So there's a poll that has just supposedly should have popped up into your window. If we can ask, please, for you to vote. We'll give it a few, maybe a minute or two. All right, we've got about 27% participation, 30%, 50%. Thank you, Colleen. Carleen, there's a question, how can we engage the beneficiaries themselves? And I guess this is, of course, something that is always a question.
Well, and I think very context dependent, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and that's one of the challenges. That's one of the challenges that we face. And I am thinking, because I'm very interested in communications and IYCF-E, and I'm thinking that many of the challenges that have been posed, there's a really valuable role for communications there, and we need to do more cross-sectorally and working with people in other sectors. So I guess if people have got ideas on how to do that and to get the communications people enthusiastic about IYCF-E, that would be a good thing.
Absolutely. I'm going to just end the poll and show you the results. And meanwhile, I would like to ask colleagues, Sabra, Fatmata, and Sarah, just for any final closing remarks, or even Carleen, just going through this and see that there's the majority have put 4 or 5, which is great. And the the topics, the interactive sessions was popular, which is good. And 89 have learned useful information, and 5 maybe, hopefully, this is useful. Thank you. Final words, Fatmata, maybe?
No, just to say thank you, colleagues. This has been interactive and helpful. We will use the information you have shared with us today to further define our priorities, and we'll continue engaging with you all. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for your active participation and interest. The IFE Core Group members are all really passionate and get actively involved, and please reach out to us in whatever way to seek ways that we may be able to support the work. Thank you.